Hi everyone, welcome back to a new vlog. If you are recently a new subscriber or if you just joined me, my name is Lydia and I do wildlife photography in my spare time. So for those of you who've been following me since I've started vlogging, which was a couple of months ago now, you would have known in my last vlog when I was at Frampton I mentioned that I was going away pretty much for the whole of August, 2 weeks to be exact, to travel to the Isle of Mull. If you don't know where the Isle of Mull is, it is part of the Inner Hebrides on the west coast of Scotland. It's a place I've been to multiple times now, mostly for the summer. The last time I went was in the winter of 2019 and it's just a wonderful place. I've come to think of it as a second home for me, and it's very much different in terms of landscape in comparison to the Fens. So that's probably one of the main reasons why I love going back there. Another reason being is of course the wildlife. You can see so much throughout the whole of the year. You always see something different depending on whether it's the summer or the winter months. So the main reason for going was of course for personal reasons, but I could not help in taking my cameras along with me. So yeah, this vlog's basically going to be about what I experienced on the island, and obviously I will be showing you some of my favourite images and the experiences that led me to taking those pictures in particular. So yeah, that being said, let's get started. So on the way up to Mull, we had to catch the ferry across at Oban, which we've done multiple times now, me and my husband. And we arrived, it was a bit overcast, the wind was quite fresh, it was quite cool, and we were able to see some harbour porpoises from the ferry as well, which was really nice. So yeah, once we got on the island, we travelled to the north of the island to just outside of the town of Tobermory, which we've been to multiple times now. We've stayed either within the town or we've just been located just outside of it, just because it's the hub of everything. It's got its own harbour for pontoons, and yeah, it just gives you direct access to everything that the island has to offer. So the first week was actually the nicest week in terms of weather. It was brilliant sunshine for the most part, a bit of cloud here and there. So we decided to explore most of the island just in a relaxed way. I wasn't so much intending on getting the wildlife photography done in the first week because, as I said, we were there for personal reasons. So we just explored the local area as we've done multiple times before. We went to some of the local waterfalls, which I absolutely love. Again, in the Fens you don't get many waterfalls, and just going along the coast, you can watch the tide go out or go in, and it's that golden seaweed that you get along the edges as well, which is really nice. Yeah, so we did a fair amount of travelling. We went to different locations just to relax, and then one of the first trips we did was out on one of the whale watching trips. Again, we've done that multiple times. The last couple of times we did that, we actually travelled to the Treshness Isles, so that's Lunga, and then Stafford and Fingal's Cave. And the times we did that was when the puffins were on land to breed, but we had just missed them, so all the puffins, guillemots, etc. were out on the water. So we weren't able to see the puffins, but we were able to see quite a few young guillemots, black guillemots, and also razorbills that are out on the water as well. And it was on one of those first trips where the sun was out where one of the first sightings we had was minke whales. So minke whales do like being off the west coast, primarily for feeding. So there was about 3 or 4 individuals, and I only got a couple of shots of them coming up for air before they then dove back down or ventured elsewhere to feed. But yeah, I really like those. The contrast with the blue water and the blue sky is definitely one of my new favourites for the minke whale, just the way I experienced it at the time. Other marine animals that we saw, grey and harbour seals, they like to hug the coastline, and again some of the pictures I've got of them were them just sprawled out on the rocks. Some of them lifting their heads to see the boat and the people on board, but otherwise they were just asleep, either filled from feeding fish off the shore or just sunning themselves, which was really nice. Mull is really renowned for the otters. They are basically seen along any coastline throughout the year. Unfortunately, we didn't see the otters when we went, but I'm not too bothered by that because times been before, I've seen them then, and it just means it's another excuse to go back to hopefully get more pictures of the otters. But one event that happened while we were on one of the shorelines was that a pod of common dolphin had actually come into the loch. They were way off in the distance, so the only picture I really got was when they was just leaping out of the water. That was really fun to see from a distance. And in terms of bird life, there's quite a lot of bird life that tend to hunt along the water's edge. You get gannets literally diving in the loch if there's an abundance of fish, and obviously the dolphins were a sure sign that there were. But along the rocks themselves, there's quite a few of the smaller birds that tend to find small amounts of food along the shore, especially when the tide's going out. So they include pied wagtail, rock pipits, and sometimes meadow pipits, and also wheatears. And I had a really nice experience with about two individuals, two wheatears, and they were hopping along the rocks, and it provided a really good ample opportunity for me to photograph these birds within that environment. So I sat in one place, I allowed the birds to come closer to me if they wanted to, and I really wanted to get a sense of the environment that they were in. So the pictures I ended up getting from that was when they were sort of not on the highest rock, but on a rock that was below the horizon line, and then you can get the rocks blurred out in the background. And then there was some nice areas where there was seaweed just poking up along the edge of the rock as well. So yeah, I really liked taking those pictures, and yeah, multiple times we went back to either along the loch or we were further north looking out over the ocean. Then the birds would be there as well, so that was really nice to get. Another well-known spot on Mull, in terms of as a tourist attraction really, is Calgary Bay. So that's a very nice white sandy beach. It's a huge cove basically, and again I went there just for the relaxation part, but I thought I'd take my camera with me just on the off chance if we saw anything en route. And I remember I was walking along the water's edge, and I didn't have my camera on me, I was more beach combing, so I was finding bits of seashells or rocks with barnacles on them. And then I looked up at the last minute and there were 3 birds on the water's edge, one being a sanderling and the 2 others being ringed plovers. And they weren't fussed at all. I did get reasonably close before I actually noticed they were there. So I thought, right, I'll slow walk, or a quick walk back to the area where I was sitting at originally. Grabbed my camera, I had my Sigma 150-600 attached, took that with me, and I went back to the area where I last saw the 3 birds, and then I laid down. So I was pretty much on my front with the lens pointing in their direction, and yeah, these 3 birds, they were just happily picking off bits of food from, again, the tide was going out, so there was new bits of seaweed with multitudes of food on them. And yeah, with that I got some really nice shots where I was eye level with my subject, so I wasn't standing up looking down on them, and yeah, I just really liked it. Was unexpected, which is the nicest part, and they were just really nice images in terms of depth of field and the colours that were involved. Again, I really wanted to get the surroundings included as well as the subject that was in front of me, and yeah, I got some really nice pictures from that as well, so that was really good. I remember when I was along one of the locks and I was following some of the birds, some of the wheatears in particular, and I saw something that was in between rocks, and I wasn't sure what it was at first because it had like a sheen to it, and at first I thought, oh, like, is that a plastic bag or something that's been washed up from the shore? And when I got closer I did realise it was something that was washed up, but it wasn't rubbish of any kind, it was actually a huge barrel jellyfish. And I know that jellyfish, multiple species of jellyfish are found off the coast of Mull, and this was one of them, but it was absolutely huge. I put my foot next to the jellyfish for size, and it had obviously been pecked at a few times by either hooded crows or other corvids. But it was absolutely huge and I just wasn't expecting it. It obviously either got caught up when the tide was going out and it had been left there for who knows how long. But yeah, to see one at that size, it was quite insane. So going into the second part of the week on Mull, the weather changed quite a lot. It was pretty much rain every day or heavy clouds, so it was pretty much grey for the most part of the second week. But that didn't deter me or my partner. We still wanted to go out and explore more of Mull. So on one morning we went to another lock, but rather than going up north we went further south, and we sat out along there for quite some time. But for the most part there were hooded crows, and there was also grey herons. They tend to stay along most of the edge of the locks looking for food, and we also saw a white-tailed eagle. That was one of the first sightings we had of white-tailed eagles. That was just, it soared over the lock and then it went out towards the sea. But that wouldn't be the last time that we saw white-tailed eagles. As we went on another boat trip, but it wasn't specifically for whale watching, it was actually to go and find either the white-tailed eagles or the golden eagles that inhabit Mull. And hands down, right now, it's one of the best experiences I had with these wild birds. It was indescribable. So yeah, I'll just go into that. So again, it was really heavy cloud, it was grey, it was raining, so for quite some time we couldn't actually see the land on either side of us because it was that dark and rainy. And not long after we set off, we were basically hounded by herring gulls, black-headed gulls, common gulls, and they were obviously aware that this boat in particular sometimes has scraps of food. So I thought, well, if I'm going to be getting quite close shots of eagles, I thought I'd practice with the gulls. So for my camera settings, I remember I brought up the ISO relatively high. I think I had it for the most part about 2500 ISO, and I made sure that, because I was on an aperture priority setting, I wanted to make sure that the shutter speed was very quick as well. So I remember, I think I had it of about f8 for the most part, again because I wasn't contending with much in the background because again it was a great cloud. So I practiced on some of the gulls and they came out pretty well. I actually ended up editing a couple of them, even though, because some people think, oh, it's just gulls, they're not camera worthy, but in terms of practicing just in case eagles were to arrive, it was actually a good opportunity to do that. And then I remember I was photographing these gulls and then I glanced to my left and there was something moving against the skyline or the land that was out off in the distance, and this object got closer and closer, and then I realised it was one of the white-tailed eagles that actually reside on one particular part of the island. And it's just something I can't describe. It was an amazing, awe-inspiring experience to have a bird that large and that close coming towards you. So I just started snapping away. Multiple times this one individual came and again the skipper had not lots of fish, but about 3 or 4 pieces of fish that they would give out to the eagle every now and again if they were around. So multiple times this eagle would sort of glide above our heads and then swoop down and grab the fish with its talons. And I've got so many pictures. I've tried to edit some of my favourite ones, but there must be another 20 that I just love. It's just, even though they're really simple images, like it's the grey background and then the bird, it captures so much of their power. You can imagine the size just by looking at the image. And yeah, definitely one of my best experiences so far with a bird of prey, one of the largest birds of prey in the British Isles. And then we got to the day before we left, and we booked a spontaneous boat trip again, out whale watching. I just thought we had a day spare before we get ready to pack and leave, and yeah, we decided to go out that morning. Again, it was grey, but the water was so calm, it was almost mirror-like. So yeah, we went out on the boat about 9:30 in the morning, and we just got out the harbour. We were just coming up the area between mainland Scotland and Mull, and they shouted, or one of the skippers shouted, "Cetacean, 12 o'clock." So we all looked forward, and indeed there was a pod of dolphins quite far off in the distance. And we thought, oh, that'll be it, maybe they're just passing by or they're on the hunt for food. But the boat slowed down and we almost pretty much came to a stop. The engine was turned off, and these group of what we saw were common dolphin started moving towards the boat. So I thought, okay, we'll see where this goes, because in terms of the minke whale was the closest we had been to any sort of cetacean on a boat on Mull, and I just had that feeling that, okay, this could actually lead to some pretty good images. And in terms of photographing marine life, I've hardly done it, because either the subject was too far or I haven't had experience with it before. So again, I had my camera set up with quite a high ISO, so I can get as much light into my camera, and also a very fast shutter speed, because of course, as many of you know, dolphins are a relatively fast cetacean in the water. And within a blink of an eye, this pod of dolphins, there was about 15-20 strong, was all over the shop. It was in front of the boat. They were going underneath the boat. They were coming up for air. They were leaping out of the water. So you can imagine the stress I had to try and locate a dolphin, to then try and photograph it coming up for air or leaping out of water. And it was only one small opportunity where there was one individual that I photographed just below the water surface, and when it came to editing, I actually came to like how moody it looked. It was just below the water, so it's a very moody image in terms of, you know, the colours I had and the camera settings that were available to me. And then I photographed one. Again, I was constantly clicking because these animals are really fast. But looking through them, I then came across a dolphin just coming up for air, so the bubbles were just coming out of the blowhole just below the water surface. One of my absolute favourites from that was a adult and a calf coming up for air and just breaking through the water surface. And yeah, when I saw that picture on my camera, I thought, oh my god, I've got one of these pictures, because most of the time when I think of marine photography, I look to photographers like Slater Moore. He lives in California, and also the great Paul Nicklin, who's got some amazing underwater photography, and also photographs of orca when they're coming up for air. And I just thought of that, and I thought, I got one of these pictures. I never thought I would get, you know, a photograph of a cetacean in water in that sort of action shot. And it was amazing. It was amazing to come back, go through, edit them, and just be like, wow, that's my image. And it just goes to show you that no matter how many times you go back to a certain location, whether it be Mull or whether it be somewhere off the coast of America or South Africa or, you know, even Antarctica, and you just think, like, in that moment you don't think that you got that picture, but when you go back and you look through, you just think, yeah, that's my picture, and I'm proud of it. So that, again, alongside the white-tailed eagles, that was a proper surreal experience. Once I got quite a few pictures of the dolphins, I just enjoy watching them. I've got a video of it, a very short video of one sort of bow riding, and then they stayed around for quite some time, and I just enjoy the whole experience, not just getting those pictures that are definitely one of my favourites to date, but just to experience witnessing some of the wildlife that Mull has to offer. So if you didn't gauge from this video, I highly recommend the Isle of Mull. Quite a few photographers that I follow on Instagram and on YouTube, they have gone there in the last year and this summer alone. And yeah, I fully agree with what they say, saying that Mull just has something all year round that you can find and go back to. You don't just have to go the one time. You're not going to see everything at one time. You can go back any time of year, and there's always going to be something to find. So yeah, highly recommend it. I think that's all I can really say about what I experienced. I've obviously, in this vlog, I've tried to insert some of the videos I take in terms of the landscapes I found myself in, the white-tailed eagles that I saw, and the dolphins as well. So yeah, I wasn't quite sure how I was going to record this vlog, to be honest, because I was on Mull for different reasons, not just for the wildlife, and I just thought, well, for the most part I'll just get some B-roll, and then once I'm back at home and I'm settled and I've gone through images, then I can record it in this manner. And I think that's probably worked, because if I'd have done an awful lot of recording of me talking on the island, I think it just would have been a bit of a mammoth task to get it all together, rather than just get my selection of videos and then talk to you as I have done now. So yeah, if you have enjoyed this overview video of the Isle of Mull, feel free to like, feel free to comment if you have your own experiences of going to Mull, either just witnessing wildlife or photographing wildlife yourself. You're more than welcome to share your experiences. But yeah, otherwise, the pictures that I would have posted onto this video, they will also be going up on my social media accounts. I will hopefully be putting some up on my website blog, and some of my favourite pictures I will potentially put up as prints through my Etsy shop as well. So that will all be available through my website, which is pinfold-photographic.co.uk. You can find me through Facebook, you can find me through Instagram, and in terms of future vlogs, I've definitely got other locations in mind that I want to go to now that I'm settled down, and yeah, I'm quite looking forward to going back to photographing the wildlife within the fens and surrounding areas. So I hope you stick around to see those in the near future. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again in the near future. Bye!